Hi, thank you so much for joining us for the Telehealth 101 presentation. My name is Marla Monk, and I'm one of the clinicians at the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at the Veterans Village of San Diego. In addition to my role as a clinician, I am also the telehealth champion for our clinic. So, what that means is basically I get real excited about telehealth. So, I'd love to tell you more about it. First, this is just a little bit of information about me. I won't read you off the whole thing because that's not very exciting. But basically, I have experience, more than 15 years of experience in the social work and mental health field. And I have experience working both with the military community and with the civilian community. Um, Prior to joining the clinic, I worked as a adoption social worker. So basically, I wrote home studies for those folks who are looking to adopt or have a resource child placed in their home. So I did biopsychosocial assessments. I also worked aboard Camp Pendleton and aboard the Marine Corps Logistics Base in Barstow as a victim advocate and as a prevention and education specialist. So working with the military community and with the veteran community is something that I've always wanted to get back to. So I'm honored to be working with the clinic. So I have experience working with those impacted by trauma and domestic violence, as well as children and families, as well as individuals and couples. In addition to my professional experience, I'm also a military spouse. I've been married to my active duty Navy husband for almost 17 years, which is really weird to think about. But yep, it's been over 16 years, almost 17. So time goes by when you're having fun. And then I also have two military children as well, um, and it's been awesome so far. Um, I also have my father was in the army, and then my grandfather was in the Air Force. So the mission of the Cohen Clinic is one that's very near and dear to me, and I'm honored to be working at that clinic and to be working with the veterans and their family members. Okay, so what is telehealth? What is it all about? When I mention telehealth to some folks, they're like, "Are you just going to be talking on the phone to me? How does this work?" So, what telehealth is, it's face-to-face video therapy that allows you to have appointments in real time, and we do it through video conferencing. Everybody is familiar with Zoom and doing video chats now, especially with shelter in place and with quarantining. So that is something that everyone's familiar with. But even if you're not, that's okay. We can help. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is click on the link that we provide, and then you join your appointment session. To connect, you will need a couple of things. You'll need a secure internet connection. Privacy, we want to make sure that you're comfortable and you feel comfortable having your session, so that privacy is important. A device, a phone, tablet, or a computer with audio and visual capabilities. That's important too. Again, we want it to mirror what would take place in a session in the office. Um, the system we use for telehealth is secure. It's secure, private, um, HIPAA compliant video conferencing to ensure that confidentiality. Okay, so what are some of the general standards? What are some of the guidelines for telehealth? Eligible clients can utilize telehealth. You can use it for the entire course of treatment, or you can utilize a combination of walk in and telehealth services. So once you start with telehealth, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in telehealth once our clinic is no longer operating remotely. As of right now, our clinic is operating remotely, so our appointments are just taking place via telehealth. But once we are no longer operating remotely, if you want to switch over to in-person sessions, that's totally fine. And vice versa. Let's say that you started off in in-person sessions, but you decide that telehealth might work better, or if you're running late for an appointment, you don't think you'll be able to get there. Telehealth is kind of that option. You may not have to cancel that appointment. You can still have it if we convert it to telehealth, since you have that convenience of being able to do the session on your phone. Um, Some other guidelines to think about is that the client has to be located within the state of California for all telehealth appointments. At the beginning of each session, the provider is going to do a location check with the client to verify that they are in an appropriate location to conduct the session. And then we document where that address is, what the contact information is, and who we can contact in case of an emergency at the beginning of that session. Um, the provider will also verify the client's identity at the start of every session, and this is something we do at the start of every single session. We want to make sure that you are who you say you are. At the onset of each session, the provider will also provide their their identity. We'll identify ourselves. We'll provide our job title, credentials, and the purpose of the session. Um, Clients have to provide an informed consent that can be verbal or written for the use of telehealth for the delivery of care. And that's something that we'll go over during that first session. So um, you that's something that we'll take care of during that first session. This includes information about both routine and emergency contact procedures and protocols, like if an emergency should occur while we're on a telehealth session. We'll kind of just review a plan of what we can do and who we should contact. At the initial session, we always go over all of these guidelines. And then we also talk about what to expect and what our expectations are of those taking part in a telehealth session. Again, we want it to mirror an actual in-person session. So we ask that you come on time to sessions, you're dressed appropriately, just like you would be for an appointment in the office. Um, and we want to make sure that the environment that you're in for the session is appropriate as well too. But again, these are all questions that we can answer for you if you contact our clinic, if you have any questions about the telehealth process. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, so what is the process? So if you are interested in learning more about telehealth and maybe starting the telehealth with our clinic, the first thing you do is you're going to reach out to the clinic, and you'll reach out either through sending an email to the info@cohenvvsd.org email address, or you can contact our office at 619-345-4611, and that will get the process started. From there, the intake coordinator will contact you to schedule or conduct the referral screener. And then the intake coordinator will schedule for the initial assessment to take place. And that initial assessment takes place via telehealth, and a Zoom test call will be scheduled. And so, what we do with that Zoom test call is that we make sure that everything is working for you before that initial session. So, we try to get out all those kinks before that assessment session to make sure that the process is as seamless as possible. The clinician will send you a link prior to the intake appointment with a link for the intake session to occur and what some of the next steps are. And some of those next steps are filling out paperwork, those consents that I had talked about previously. But again, your clinician will walk you through it all. And then the appointment takes place. Easy, right? Don't worry if you have any questions about it. Let your clinician know, let our office staff know. We would be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you have. Okay, so what's so great about telehealth? I mean, I think it's pretty cool. But what some of the benefits are is that you can have a face-to-face session in your own home. So there's no need to drive. The session comes to you. And especially right now, since we are operating remotely, it's it's a great option. So that way you don't have to miss out on those therapy sessions. And you don't have to wait until clinics aren't operating remotely anymore. Just start therapy. Um, it's also secure and confidential. Again, it's HIPAA compliant and confidential. Um, it's a great option for individuals, couples, families, and children. We have a lot of great tools to use when we are working with some of the children um, via telehealth remotely. There's some interactive games that we can do. Um, and it sometimes people feel more comfortable even talking within their own home. Um, so it makes it a little easier for some. That's what some people are saying. There's also a potential for fewer missed appointments because you don't have to battle the traffic. Um, we again are located in Southern California, so the battle with traffic is real. Um, Maybe not right now when we're operating remotely, but when Southern California traffic is at its normal pace, it's rough. And so you don't have to worry about battling traffic. That's what's nice about telehealth. Okay, so I get a lot of questions, and our clinic gets a lot of questions about telehealth. So let's answer some of those. So what is um, so looking at telehealth, we want to know who is eligible for services. That's a question we get a lot. Okay, so can just anybody do telehealth? Okay, so a person who resides in California and agrees to participate in the services within the state of California and otherwise meets the criteria for our clinic um, is eligible. A person who is interested in receiving mental health services via video teleconferencing through their personal computer device um, at a stationary and safe location and has the necessary equipment um, to do so, they're eligible for services. Um, a person for whom maybe travel to the clinic might be difficult, like let's say you are in a remote location within the state of California and maybe traveling 45 minutes just isn't feasible. So that might be a good option. That person's eligible. Basically anybody in the state of California who is eligible for our services is eligible for telehealth. Um, we'd also want to ask that somebody has a minimum level of being comfortable with technology. Again, it's a pretty simple process. So again, if you had any questions about it, or maybe if you just wanted to um, try it out, you can always contact our office and set up a Zoom test call just to see, hey, maybe it's something that I am interested in doing. Okay, so what would exclude somebody from telehealth services? That's also a question that we get a lot. Um, so although there's no absolute exclusionary criteria for the use of telehealth, there are some situations where maybe the staff might decline to offer telehealth, or maybe it's just not the best option at this time. So let's say if there's extreme instability, violence, or impulsivity, immediate risk of self-harm, suicidality, or harm to others, and we want to ensure that um, folks are safe. And so we want to make sure it's a safe environment. So telehealth may not be a great option for everybody. If there's a presence of psychiatric symptoms that could be maybe exacerbated by the use of telecommunications and technology. So those type of may not be a great fit. The lack of privacy and or safe environment. So maybe if it's there's not a lot of privacy in the home. Maybe that might be a challenge. But those are some things that we can troubleshoot as well. Okay, so what are some other questions that we get? Oh, here's one that I get a lot is I have children, right? Because everybody's home from school right now. Everybody's doing school out of their homes. And so if I don't have childcare, am I still able to use telehealth? Can I still do a telehealth session? And I would say, yeah, I mean, it depends. So let's talk about it. This can be, it kind of depends on the age of the child um, or the children. If nap time might be an option. That might be something you can do. Or even maybe we can talk about having a shorter session that um, a child could be entertained by a tablet or a short game that they're playing with a sibling, perhaps. So that might also be an option. Or maybe you can align the appointments around that same time that your child is using, maybe having a Zoom session for their school. So those are some options. Another cool thing is that some clinics, ours included, which is pretty cool, are offering virtual childcare. And so a childcare provider um, can be provided to you virtually, and it's through our vetted childcare provider. And it's pretty cool. So I've actually tried this out because I said, I figured if I'm going to be sharing with you what the telehealth process is like, I should try out some of the things. And so I utilized the virtual childcare for my children during the day just to test it out, and it was great. They were able to play games virtually. The virtual sitter was basically on the tablet we had, and the children were downstairs and talking with the virtual provider. They did story time, they did a craft, and they actually had a lot of fun. And they wanted to know when they could do it again. So there's some good feedback for that. Another question that people have is, can I still do telehealth if um, I don't have a lot of privacy? I don't have a private place to do the session. Can I still do telehealth? Um, and I would say if you don't have a private place in your home to do telehealth, taking the session to your car might be a way to solve the problem. Again, because you can do telehealth um, on your phone, and so that might be an option. Or maybe in the garage, um, or if you have maybe space in your closet where you're away from somebody, that might provide a little bit of privacy as well. But again, that's something that if you wanted more information about telehealth, give us a call and maybe we can troubleshoot some ideas with you as well. Um, the final question that I get a lot is, I'm not great with technology. Is telehealth complicated to navigate? And no, I don't think so. I think it's pretty easy, and that's what we're hearing too. Um, it's pretty easy to navigate. Oh, I jumped ahead. Excuse me. It's pretty easy to navigate. You just click on the link that we provide to you, and then schedule that test call to make sure that all the things that you need for telehealth are in place, and that any maybe connectivity issues have been resolved. Again, that test call is scheduled prior to the appointment, so all those kinks can be worked out before that first intake session, just to ensure that you're ready when your first appointment takes place. So if you're still not sure about telehealth, call us, schedule a test call, so we can show you how easy telehealth really is. Um, Here's our information. If you have any questions about telehealth, give us a call, um, and let's talk about it. Here's the information so that you can email us again at the info@cohenvvsd.org. Call us. Or you can check out our website as well. I would also encourage you to check out Facebook. We are posting a ton of resources. There's information about some groups that are going to be taking place virtually, which is pretty exciting. And there's also information that our case manager is putting out, which is so much good information to have right now. They're putting out information about resources that are available um, for our families, veterans, and their families to use. So there's a ton of good information out there. I also want to take this moment to encourage you. If you're on the fence about wanting to try telehealth, why not give it a shot? It's a great way to continue therapy or to start therapeutic services. And it's fairly easy. So I hope I've cleared up any questions that you may have about telehealth. And I hope that we have the pleasure of working with you soon. Thank you so much and have a great day.